Well, it's interesting because Greg Sams, in terms of coming to this forum, he's someone I'd completely lost track of. But I had had some dealing with him again back in the early 70s when I first got involved with the whole food movement. And he was one of the movers and shakers in Harmony Whole Foods, that series Whole Food Shop at the bottom of Portobello Road. Huge quantities of wholesale whole foods being shipped around all over the country, and the kind of beginning of box schemes with things being divided up and shared out, and because they've been bought in bulk, the good deal was able to be passed on to everyone. And these guys, in those days, were known as the macro mafia, and I can remember Greg clearly from then, and but had completely lost touch. So at the time of megalithmania earlier on this year, when I got to know Gary Evans, he was mentioning that he was having dinner with somebody and that Greg was going to be there. And the discussion started, and I heard about his new book, and then there was an opportunity to invite him to come and speak, and very delighted that he's been able to participate this weekend. All esoteric strands speak of this, and on every level, from a physical to a far more subtle transdimensional level, the sun is a key to everything, and the fact that it should be involved in the micro processes as well as the macro processes seems very, very natural. And clearly all the ancients revered the sun, and the fact that we're now knowing how incredibly talented those guys were, it's something that's actually coming back now into mainstream consciousness, having been blacked by the church from the Middle Ages. The idea that people were involved with spirits of trees and rocks and places, to them, of course, was anathema. But to those who have studied the way things really are, and particularly in connection with auras and colours and things, and dowsing, you realise that energetically there's far more going on than people are than those things are given credit for in the conventional science and other areas that have studied them.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and it's a great honor to be here at the Stars and Stones conference, and I love the name of the conference, Stars and Stones. It sort of sums it all up. I'm also a little bit intimidated because there's lots of scholars and academics here who know far more about the stones particularly and the stars than I do. We're all aware that so many ancient monuments were precisely aligned with the heavens in one way or the other, and we've come to have a great appreciation and respect for the architectural abilities of the ancients and for their astronomical understandings, which are hard to comprehend how they know as much as they did. And that's sort of ground that many people have covered. What I think we need to have also is a greater understanding of the appreciation for the spiritual understanding of the ancients that led them and motivated them to build these monuments that were so aligned with the heavens. So today I'll be helping you to look at these monuments through the same eyes, or look at the skies through the same eyes that the ancients did, through their recognition. Because whatever culture you choose in the ancient world, whether it's Sumerian or Sioux Indian, whether it's Celtic or Egyptian, Mayan or Khmer, there's one consistent thread which ran through all those disparate cultures, which was the recognition of the sun as a living being itself. And yet today, it's the subject of my talk and the subject of my book is considered to be really strange by many people. And yet, what is really strange is that they think that's a strange idea, because nothing could actually be more natural than to recognize the sun as a living being, and nothing could be more perverse and ungrateful than to regard it as a dead, inanimate, accidental ball of gas, which does seem to be the current headset today. Even though you won't get burned at the stake for sun worship or even put in jail in most parts of the world, it still remains a really taboo subject. And just how taboo came through to me when I presented my book to England's oldest occult bookshop, Atlantis, or oldest independently owned occult bookshop, Atlantis. And the manageress and owner there, Geraldine, when she saw I presented her with my book, and first of all, she clasped her hands in joy, and then she opened them twice as wide as they are in that picture and said, "We have this many books on the moon in the shop, and we haven't got a single book on the sun." So that's how strong the taboo is, and I shall be breaking right through that taboo today. So as we'll take a little look at our attitudes to the sun, take a little trip through the layers of the sun, tell you a little bit about it, just how important it is to us. We'll look at stars, and that's the sort of trip through the sun. I must remember to keep up with my slides here. And look at sort of galaxies and stars in a different light. And then we'll also look at the sort of bugaboos of cosmology, dark energy and dark matter, and try and figure out why people have had to come up with those concepts. So I'll start off with a question. It's a simple question. How many people feel happier and have their spirits lifted on a bright sunny day? Okay, I can't see any hands down there, but that's just about everybody. But if you realize, if you go into a dark room and you switch on bright lights and you turn the central heating right up to sort of 85 degrees, take your clothes off, stretch out on a mattress, you don't get that same feel-good, spirits lifted feeling as you get from a nice sunny day. And how many people have ever wondered why a sunny day makes us feel so good? No hands going up. Now, I suggest the reason for this is that light is a vibration, as we know. It's just a vibration. And it's a vibration coming from the sun. And it's a loving vibration coming from a being. And this is why it lifts our spirits in that way. Now, not that long ago, James Lovelock came out with his book, Gaia, and in a very scientific manner convinced many of us that we can view the Earth itself as a life form. It meets all the criteria. And ancient people recognized this. They saw the Earth as living, and you had Gaia, you had Sophia, different names for the Earth goddess, but it was a common idea which is now being brought into our culture. And I really suggest we have to look at the sun as well, which is 1,000,000 times bigger than the Earth, and without which none of this would be here. We'll take a little trip through this beautiful creature soon, but just to give an idea of perspective, this is one of my simple homemade graphs, but if the universe were 100 years old, then humanity has been here for about a week, give or take a few days. And in that week on Earth, something remarkable happened in a relative 8 minutes ago.